Hello, and welcome back. This is now we're now doing a barrel mini series because I've been rewatching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and coincidentally, right as I'm like halfway through, Andre Braugher died. So rest in peace to him, great actor. But he is quoted for saying that somebody is a Cooper, not a Hooper, and that made me say, "What's a Cooper? What's a Hooper?" And well, here we are on Wikipedia. So getting right into it. Cooper, profession, or cooperage redirects here. For 1976 documentary film, see Cooperage the film. A cooper is a person trained to make wooden casks, barrels, vats, buckets, tubs, troughs, and other similar containers from timber staves that were usually heated or steamed to make them pliable. Journeyman coopers also traditionally made wooden implements, such as rakes and wooden-bladed shovels. In addition to wood, other materials such as iron were used in the manufacturing process. The trade is the origin of the surname Cooper. And let's see, they have a special thing for a barrel or a cask. Barrel or a cask is a hollow cylindrical container with a bulging center longer than it is wide. They are traditionally made of wooden staves and bound by wooden or metal hoops. The word vat is often used for large containers for liquids, usually alcoholic beverages. Tubs, let's see. Okay, a tub, open top, circular or oblong container. Trough. Okay, there we go. And a journeyman is a worker skilled in a given building trade or craft who has successfully completed an official apprenticeship qualification. Journeymen are considered competent and authorized to work in that field as a fully qualified employee. Cool. So, etymology. The word Cooper is derived from Middle Dutch or Middle Low German Kupa, Cooper from Kupa, cask. Okay, I don't know how I was supposed to read that. Kupa, Cooper, from Kupa, cask. In turn, from Latin cupa, tun, barrel, everything a cooper produces is referred to collectively as cooperage. A cask is any piece of cooperage containing a boge, sorry if I'm saying this wrong, a boge, bilge, or bulge in the middle of the container. So a cask is any cooperage containing that. A barrel is a type of cask, so the terms barrel maker and barrel making refer to just one aspect of a cooper's work. The facility in which casks are made is also referred to as a cooperage. As a name, in much the same way as the trade or vocation of smithing produced the common English surname Smith and the German name Schmidt, see occupational surname, the cooper trade is also the origin of the English name Cooper. It is also the origin of the French tonnelier and tonnelier, Greek varelas, that was like Portuguese accent, sorry, varelas, I'll just say English-wise, Danish Budker, German Binder, Fassbinder, or Fassbinder, literally cask binder, Butcher, tub maker, Scheffler, and Kubler, Dutch Kuiper and Kuipers, Lithuanian Kubilius, Latvian Mučenieks, I don't know Latvian at all, Armenian, oh, that is not even in the Latin alphabet. Yeah. Okay, a Hungarian Kadar, Bonyar, and Bodnar, a Polish Bednarski, and Bednarczyk, a Czech Bednar, Romanian Dogaru and Butnaru, Ukrainian Bondar. I don't know the accents for these languages, sorry. Bodnaruk and Bodnarchuk, and Bondarenko. Bondarenko. A Russian and Ukrainian Bondarev, Bocharov, a Yiddish Bodner, Portuguese Toneiro, and Toneleiro, a Spanish Cubero, Tonelero, and a Viaglic Balera, Bulgarian Bachvarov, Macedonian Bakvarovsky, Croatian Bachvar, or Baj, what is it? Bajvar, Slovene Pintar, from German Binder, and Italian Botai, from Bottle. That's a lot of different names. I don't know why I took the time to read it all. Let's look at some pictures now. Okay, Cooper readies or rounds off the end of a barrel using a Cooper's hand adze, which we'll pull that open in a second. But it looks like it's a curved, short-handled hammer with a curved top for fitting in those bulges. Assembly of a barrel called a mise en hose. I don't know what part exactly is referred to as such, but whatever. The Cooper has the hand adze and adze or adze, I don't know, is an ancient and versatile cutting tool similar to an axe, but with the cutting edge perpendicular to the handle rather than parallel. Interesting. Adzes have been used since the Stone Age. They are used for smoothing or carving wood in hand woodworking and as a hoe for agriculture. Okay. History. Traditionally, a cooper is someone who makes wooden staved vessels held together with wooden or metal hoops and possessing flat ends or heads. Examples of a cooper's work includes casks. Well, here we'll look at all the. A stave is a narrow length of wood with a slightly beveled edge to form the sides of barrels, tanks, tubs, vats, pipelines, originally handmade by coopers. Cool. So, example of a cooper's work includes casks, which looks like that, barrels, which is the same page, buckets, tubs, butter churns, vats, hogsheads, which is a large cask of liquid, firkins, yeah, tierces, which is both an archaic volume unit of measure of goods and the name of the cask of that size, rundlets, which is equivalent to about 68 liters. Great. Wait, what did that say? Used to be defined as 18 wine gallons. Okay. Puncheons, which is a British unit for beer, wines, and spirits. Pipes, tons, which is TUN, not TON. Typically a large vat or vessel, most often holding 252 wine gallons, or 954 liters. Butts, which is an obsolete measurement. Troughs, pins, and breakers. So casks, barrels, buckets, tubs, butter churns, vats, hogsheads, firkins, tierces, rundlets, puncheons, pipes, tons, butts, troughs, pins, and breakers. Great. Traditionally, a hooper, not a cooper, a hooper was the man who fitted the wooden or metal hoops around the barrels or buckets that the cooper had made, essentially an assistant to the cooper. The English name hooper is derived from that profession. With time, many coopers took on the role of the hooper themselves. Antiquity. An Egyptian wall painting in the tomb of Hesira, dating to 2600 BC, shows a wooden tub made of staves bound together with wooden hoops and used to measure. Another Egyptian tomb painting dating to 1900 BC shows a cooper and tubs made of staves in use at the grape harvest. Palm wood casks were reported in use in ancient Babylon. In Europe, buckets and casks dating to 200 BC have been found preserved in the mud of lake villages. A lake village near Glastonbury near Glastonbury dating to the late Iron Age has yielded one complete tub and a number of wooden staves. See if this shows anything. No, not anything interesting. Hesira was an ancient Egyptian high official during the early 3rd dynasty of Egypt. Cool. The Roman historian Pliny the Elder reports that cooperage in Europe originated with the Gauls in alpine villages where they stored their beverages in wooden casks bound with hoops. Pliny identified 3 types of coopers: ordinary coopers, wine coopers, and coopers who made large casks. Large casks contained more and longer staves and were correspondingly more difficult to assemble. Roman coopers tended to be independent tradesmen, passing their skills on to their sons. Interesting. The Greek geographer Strabo records wooden pithoi. I hope I say that correctly. Pithoi, not pithoi. Records those things, casks, were lined with pitch. Oh, okay, sorry. Strabo, the Greek geographer Strabo records that those wooden casks were lined with pitch to stop leakage and preserve the wine. Barrels were sometimes used for military purpose. Julius Caesar used catapults to hurl barrels of burning tar into towns under siege to start fires. Great guy. Empty barrels were sometimes used to make pontoon bridges to cross rivers. Empty casks were used to line the walls of shallow wells from at least Roman times. Such casks were found in 1897 during archaeological excavation of Roman Silchester in Britain. They were made of Pyrenean silver fir, and the staves were 1.5 inches thick and featured grooves where the heads fitted. They had Roman numerals scratched on the surface of each stave to help with assembly. So this sounds like quite the operation it was. Being a cooper back in the day, Gauls were a group of Celtic people of mainland Europe in the Iron Age and Roman period. If you don't know who Pliny the Elder is, he's a very, very well-known historian of the Roman times. It says a Roman author, naturalist, natural philosopher, and naval and army commander of the early Roman Empire, and a friend of Emperor Vespasian, which Vespasian, if I recall correctly, was the emperor that decided to tax urine from the Colocus Maximus, the main sewer system, because the Felonaries, the basically dry cleaners of the days, would use urine. They would ferment urine from the public sewer and use that as a cleaning agent. And since they were doing that so much, Vespasian decided to tax the urine. I think it was him. Don't quote me on it. If it was, he was known for saying that money does not stink, unlike the urine, which in Latin it was pecunia non olet. Cool, great. That was a weird thing to suddenly say. Okay, sorry. Pontoon bridges, we know what that is. Cool. Man, they had a lot of different purposes. Pitoi. Okay, Pyrenean silver fir. Pretty tall, thin tree. Middle Ages to today. In Anglo-Saxon Britain, wooden barrels were used to store ale, butter, honey, and mead. Mead. Drinking vessels were also made from small staves of oak, yew, or pine. These items required considerable craftsmanship to hold liquids and might be bound with finely worked precious metals. They were highly valuable items and were sometimes buried with the dead as grave goods. Churns, buckets, and tubs made from staves have been excavated from peat bogs and lake villages in Europe. A large keg and a bucket were found in the Viking Gokstad ship, excavated near Oslo Fjord in 1880. There were 4 divisions in the cooper's craft. The dry or slack cooper made containers that would be used to ship dry goods such as cereals, nails, tobacco, fruits, and vegetables. The dry tight cooper made casks designed to keep dry goods in and moisture out. Gunpowder and flour casks are an example of a dry tight cooper's work. The white cooper made straight-staved containers like wash tubs, buckets, and butter churns, which would hold water and other liquids, but did not allow shipping of the liquids. Usually there were no bending of wood involved in white cooperage. There was no bending of wood involved in white cooperage. The wet or tight cooper made casks for long-term storage and transportation of liquids that could even be under pressure, as with beer. The general cooper worked on ships, on the docks, in breweries, wineries, and distilleries, and in warehouses, and was responsible for cargo while in storage or transit. Okay, so just to go over that one more time, really briefly, the dry or slack cooper had dry goods. The dry tight would make casks for dry goods keeping moisture out, like flour. The white cooper made stuff like wash tubs, buckets, churns that hold liquids, but you can't ship it. You can't ship it in these containers. The wet tight cooper made stuff for long-term storage and transportation of liquids, even under pressure, like beer, things that ferment. The General Cooper worked on ships, docks, breweries, wineries, wherever. Ships in the age of sail provided much work for coopers. They made water and provision casks, the contents of which sustained crew and passengers on long voyages. They also made barrels to contain high-value commodities, such as wine and sugar. The proper stowage of casks on ships about to sail was an important stevedoring task. Stevedoring, I haven't heard that in a long time. Casks of various sizes were used to accommodate the sloping walls of the hull and make maximum use of limited space. Casks also had to be tightly packed to ensure they did not move during the voyage and endanger the ship. Crew, and cask contents. Whaling ships in particular, featuring long voyages and large crews, needed many casks for salted meat, other provisions, and water, and to store the whale oil. Sperm whale oil was a particularly difficult substance to contain due to its highly viscous nature, and oil coopers were perhaps the most skilled tradesmen in pre-industrial cooperage. Whaling ships usually carried a cooper on board to assemble shooks, disassembled barrels, and maintain casks. Okay, whaling ships carried coopers to assemble disassembled barrels and maintain them. And man, the casks were even designed specifically for ships to be the most tight. Coopers in Britain started to organize as early as 1298. That is the year 1298. The Worshipful Company of Coopers is one of the oldest livery companies in London. Sorry, is it livery or livery? I'm just now realizing I don't actually know. I apologize. Whatever it is, one of those. And this group, the Worshipful Company of Coopers, it still survives today, although it is now largely a charitable organization. Many coopers worked for breweries. They made the large wooden vats in which beer was brewed. They also made the wooden kegs in which the beer was shipped to liquor retailers. Beer kegs had to be particularly strong in order to contain the pressure of the fermenting liquid and the rough handling they received when transported, sometimes over long distances, to pubs where they were rolled into tap rooms or were lowered into cellars. Prior to the mid-20th century, the Coopers trade flourished in the United States. A dedicated trade journal was published, the National Coopers Journal, with advertisements from firms that supplied everything from barrel staves to purpose-built machinery. Plastics, stainless steel, pallets, and corrugated cardboard replaced most wooden containers during the last half of the 20th century, 1900s, and largely made the cooperage trade obsolete. So all this plastic, stainless steel, and pallets, corrugated cardboard, killed off the cooperage. In the 21st century, coopers mostly operate barrel-making machinery and assemble casks for the wine and spirits industry. Traditionally, the staves were heated to make them easier to bend. This is still done, but now because the slightly toasted interior of the staves imparts a certain flavor over time to the wine or spirit contents, that is... Wait, how? I read this sentence wrong. This is still done, but now because the slightly toasted interior of the staves imparts a certain flavor over time to the wine or spirit contents, that is much admired by experts. In England, the trade of master cooper is dwindling, but in Scotland there are several active cooperages that provide barrels to the whiskey industry. It is thought that the last remaining master cooper in England works for Tixon Brewery in Masham. So that is that. We've got a couple more pictures here. Cooper's Workshop in Rothscheiderhof Open Air Museum. Handles or something. There's a lot to see there. Hoops. A lot of specific tools. Cooper brands from 1518 as recorded in a civic register from Bozen, South Tyrol. Coopering of casks on a dock for a whaling ship. Coopering. Before the voyage, the casks to hold the oil are put together on the docks, stowed with the provisions of the voyage, and are then headed up. cool. That is that, as they say. Cooper's dance. See also. Oh my goodness. Great. Yeah, I love culture. Well, this Cooper's dance is the Schaffentanz. That's a whole nother thing. Anyway, next time.